Hey guys, if you're interested in trending and popular houseplants, then this is the video for you. Now, I personally think the whole concept of trending plants is a little bit weird, but that's because I love mostly all plants. I think they're all beautiful, but there are typically some plants that do become more popular over certain periods of time. Anyways, if I had to choose one plant right now that is trending, very popular, this year in 2021, I would definitely have to say it is the Fishbone Cactus. This plant right here, the Fishbone Cactus, otherwise known as the Ric Rac Cactus or the Zig Zag Cactus, is definitely one handsome plant. I think all of its nicknames make a lot of sense, but I personally love Fishbone Cactus, so that's what I'll be using today in this video. Either way, this plant is definitely not your average cactus, and in this video, I'm going to be covering all the crucial care tips and how to propagate your Fishbone Cactus as well. This way, you can buy one and grow a few more. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler, and if you like what you're seeing, or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can subscribe to my channel. So when it comes to the Fishbone Cactus, if you don't already have one, it seems to be very high on everyone's wish list. And honestly, I have to say, I'm not that surprised. These plants have beautiful flowers and the most intriguing stems there are. These plants are pretty versatile in a few aspects as well, which makes them even more interesting. They could easily be placed or potted in a hanging basket or a regular pot as well. And I'm actually going to be repotting this from the plastic hanging pot it came in into a nicer ceramic pot. So let me go ahead and show you the soil mix that I'll be using and how to do that right now. So I'm going to be using this pot here, and I did go ahead and put a little bit of horticultural charcoal at the base. There is one little tiny drainage hole in there, but I like this technique just to absorb any excess water. Let me tell you which kind of soil mix works best for these plants, and then I can get into all of the other crucial care tips like light, watering, and humidity. So let's get going. The potting mix that I'm going to be using today for my Fishbone Cactus has about a 1-to-1 ratio of grit, so that kind of bonsai mix, that very rocky, gritty mix, to 1 part potting soil mix. The particular potting soil mix that I'm using today is mostly bark, coconut coir with some perlite. I did go ahead and add some extra perlite just for a little bit more aeration, and yeah, so let me get this soil into this container and get this Fishbone Cactus into its new pot. All right, so I went ahead and added some, a little bit of the potting mix to the bottom of my ceramic container. Now I'm just going to carefully loosen this. Oh, nice. And just break this up a little bit. Some nice root action there. And this is a pretty snug fit. This new container isn't any bigger than the one that it came in, so this should fit in quite nicely. Just carefully put that in there. All right. So if you're wondering why there's potting mix in for a cactus like this, and if you're noticing as well that the potting mixture that this plant came in is a little bit more on the potting soil side, that's, you know, a really great observation. And the reason for that is some of the differences in crucial care and conditions that this particular cacti need. So let me explain that to you right now. Unlike your typical cactus, the Fishbone likes a teeny weeny bitty more moisture. It really doesn't like to completely dry out, and by using some potting soil, incorporating some of that potting soil mixture with some of that grit and other potting mediums will really help retain that teeny bit of extra moisture that these plants do like. These plants are native to Mexico, and they do have a few other quirks, especially if you think of them in terms of cacti. So let me explain those to you now as well. So specifically, these plants do prefer more humidity than your average cactus, and they do prefer less sunlight than you would typically think. So basically, when you're deciding where to place this plant in your house, you need to consider a nice bright indirect light spot for it, because you don't want basically too much, if any, direct sunlight. And you also need to consider humidity. These plants do like to have some of that humidity. For me, in my place, this is basically in my bedroom, because that's where I keep the humidity at a great level for this type of plant, but it's also where I have the most space for plants so that they can receive some really nice bright indirect lighting. So guys, I'm really overdue for a houseplant tour. I just want to remind all of you that my husband and I did just move 4 months ago from our condo to our house, and this place is a lot bigger than our condo, and we still need a ton of furniture, and I need so many plant stands and shelving and open shelving so that I can get all of my plants kind of positioned and get this place nice and decorated. So we're almost there. As soon as all of that happens, I can't wait to show you guys around. This place is definitely turning into a jungle, which is amazing, and I'm just so happy with how all of it is turning out. But yes, I definitely want to get a video going to show you what this place is looking like with all of my beautiful houseplants. Anyways, back to humidity. Now, there are some signs that you can keep an eye out for to indicate whether or not it's getting enough humidity, and one of those are the aerial roots. So if these start to sprout up, then that's a great indication that it's not receiving the humidity that it needs, and that's when you're going to want to reconsider where you've placed it, or maybe bring some humidity to the fishbone cactus. Either way, these plants are super simple to propagate, and that means you can get more of this super funky, interesting plant. So let me show you how simple it is to propagate these plants. All right, so you can take cuttings using your clean, sharp pair of gardening shears, and this is what you are going to use to propagate these plants. Now, once you've taken a cutting, you do need to let them dry out and callus, and that typically takes anywhere from 3 or 4 days. So I've taken 2. One is calloused and ready to go. This one I just took a day or 2, so it still needs to dry out a little bit more. But once you've done that, and once it's calloused, you can go ahead and add some rooting hormone, and that will just help expedite the whole process. So let me set that up and show you how simple it is. All right, so if you've never used rooting hormone, it helps develop roots, obviously, and the timing and when you use this is kind of important. So in this case, for the fishbone cactus, you're gonna want to, like I explained, let your cutting dry out and callus, and you don't dip your cutting into the rooting hormone until you're ready to pot it up in your potting mix. So because this one is good to go, all you do is gently dip that in, remove any excess, and then, place that in your potting mix. And I'm using the same potting mix that I just created or mixed up, and I have so many of these plastic and nursery pots that I save. So this one should do great. Give it, the time it needs to develop those roots. And I've potted up another one, so when this guy is ready to go, then he can go in there. But really, propagating these plants are as simple as that. And it's never a bad idea to keep your cuttings and your pieces that you are trying to propagate in the same or very similar conditions as the parent plant. So I'm going to keep an eye on the moisture, humidity levels, and bright indirect light sounds just right. Well, that's it for me. Hope you found this video useful and helpful. Miss you already. See you next Saturday.